welcome back. It's been a year.
Yes, but we're hopefully going to be better about doing this now that we've figured it out a little bit technologically.
We'll see, we'll see.
So, Emily, what is the topic of this episode?
Well, as creative director, you chose to talk about meeting our significant others as well as the proposals.
Yes, that is what I decided on. So, do you want me to go first or do you want to go first?
As always, age before beauty.
Okay. Well, as you know, I'm married to your father.
Yeah, that would be uncomfortable if you weren't. Well,
Well,
I guess there are people who have
yeah,
that.
there are a lot of people that don't have that. Let's see, where to begin? All right, when I was growing up, my mom implanted this idea in my head that 99.9% of guys would never want to date me, let alone be married to me. So when I was going into the whole dating scene in college, I had this in the back of my mind. I was raised Catholic, and through freshman year, I was pretty Catholic, although I started doing a lot of weird stuff.
The
Because,
good old Christian guilt.
yeah, the Christian guilt will kick in shortly. Um, the first time I ever saw your father was at the Rocky Horror Picture Show during my freshman year.
Freshman year of college.
College, yes, sorry. Somehow, I don't remember how, we got to the theater. It was my friend David. I guess I'll name names. Hopefully, nobody will care.
I
Kate,
like how you still say theater. We moved to DC, mother. It's now theater.
theater. We're at the theater. It was David, Kate. David and Kate and me were kind of in this weird, like, who do you like, David triangle thing going on. Okay. And it was my friend Dave and his girlfriend Natalie. Now, Dave was a quadriplegic, so he sat in his wheelchair right next to me with Natalie on top of him making out the entire show. David and Kate were up a row, and I'm like, God bless her, she's getting upper hand on me. This cannot happen. So, being the good little Catholic girl I was at that time, I went, please, God, please let my husband be in this theater somewhere.
And now you're British.
And British. And little did I know your father was in that theater. I know he was there that night because he remembers seeing my friend Dave making out with his girlfriend Natalie right next to me because it was kind of hard to miss. But the thing is, he was the creature in the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Which,
So
if you don't know, is the character who, for part of the show, is in gold lame panties.
yes, but he added fishnets and combat boots, which I appreciated at that time. So, anyways, that happened. That was freshman year, no contact whatsoever. Um, After that, I had lots of friendships and relationships with gay guys. Like, I would go, oh, I like this guy so much. He's so great. He's gay. Or I'm dating this guy. He's so great. Oh, he turned gay. I had a nickname in college. I was called the Fag Factory. Um, but
Not your words, and no offense meant.
uh, hey, if this is explicitly rated, I can say whatever I want. No, anyhow, the a lot of that went on, so it was interesting. But now, fast forwarding to sophomore year, I took a class about the history of the Middle East, which I had absolutely no desire whatsoever to know about, but it was the only class I could get. and I needed it as an elective. Fortunately for me, this class was really stupid. Every other day, the professor showed us a movie about the Middle East, none of which any of us paid attention to. But it was also lucky because there were three guys in the front row. So there were three guys in the front row, all of which I thought were extremely cute because they were all punk rock and stuff. One of them I knew from my dorm and had been heavily flirting with him, but he had like a girlfriend like forever, so that wasn't gonna happen. And then there was this guy with a mohawk and a rat tail. I don't know if you know what that is.
I do know what that is.
Okay,
It's
it's like
very unfortunate and it's coming back.
and next to him was his friend that kind of had the geeky like punk rock look. Anyways, I'm sorry, I'm making this way too complicated. So anyways, one of those guys was the guy with the rat tail.
Oh my
Uh
god. No.
yes, he had a braid down the back of his neck from his mohawk. He did.
Uh,
Sorry.
I don't need to know this.
Um, but anyways, I would always flirt with these guys. I'd always be like, "Hi, how are you?" And they would be hi. But the guy with the rat tail was like so fucking rude. I was always like, "Hi, Lee. How are you, Lee? Hi, Lee." And he would just ignore me.
Little did you know.
Yes. Care to fill them in on that fact?
My father is half deaf, meaning he can't hear out of one ear and has reduced hearing in the other. So what my mom thought was him being rude was him simply not hearing her.
Yes. And at that time, he had no hearing aids, so it was even worse. So I wrote him off. I was like, this guy's rude as fuck. I'm not dealing with him. But the class was ending, and I, being the sneaky flirter I am, bought a bag of popcorn to share for our last movie in this boring class. And I handed it back and forth between myself and these three guys. When the popcorn was all done, I'm like, hey, I got an idea, everybody. Why don't we all write our phone numbers on this bag? And someone could get it, and
So subtle.
I know I was really subtle. So your dad took one of the popcorn kernels and put eyes and a mouth on it and like hung it from the bag by a paper clip so it looked like it was in a noose. Wow, I'm getting way too specific. Anyways, long and the short of it is your dad ended up with a popcorn bag. But alas, he never called me. So I was like, okay, I mean, that makes sense. He's rude, right? So, okay. So that was the end of sophomore year. Summer of sophomore year, I moved into an apartment off campus with my friend Amy, someone we found off like Craigslist, whatever it was at that time, and my friend Mitch. Um, I went through really, oh, by that time, I was not Catholic. I was like full on Wicca, like doing spells and things.
That's another story for another
Yes,
day.
that is a whole other story. But during the summer, after getting out of one really messed up relationship, I'm like, God, and I forget how many weeks it was, but I gave God an ultimatum. I'm like, you know what I want in a man. I'll give you, I don't know, let's say 2 weeks to find me said man, or I'm doing this big huge spell to call this man to me, okay? So they've got an ultimatum. I'm like, I want the guy to be punk rock, rough around the edges, but when he takes his combat boots off, I want him to be as sweet as a little child. So in other words, I wanted a tough exterior and
Marshmallow inside.
yes, a very like Twinkie-esque. Okay, that was bad analogy. You know what I mean, like a jelly donut. Ah, okay, so I did the ultimatum, and we go into junior year. Um, God still had time to work. Um, I would go to this thing called Alternative Tuesday, every Tuesday, of course, at the
Really?
local.
I thought it was on Thursday.
That's a different thing. Uh, uh, so, anyways, I used to go to Alternative Tuesday every Tuesday, and then afterwards, I had a radio show that I did called the Midnight Mac Attack because that was my name back then, Mac. Um, I rolled into Alternative Tuesday, and who should be sitting there right by the door but Lee? And I'm like, fuck this dude. He's so rude. I'm just gonna roll on by him because he was going, Jenny, Jenny. And I'm like, I'm gonna ignore him. So I started to try to roll by him, and he stuck his big fat foot out with the combat boot on. So I had to talk to him, I guess. Gave him a cigarette. I had a cigarette. We
'Cause you wanted to die.
Yes, because I wanted to kill my lungs. And we talked like pretty much the whole night. We hung around. And I explained to him that there was also this other guy that creeped me the fuck out because he was super old. Like he was probably 30, but back then that was super old. And we'll just call him the swastika guy because he had a mohawk also, but in the sides where the stubble were, he had shaved swastikas.
Yeah, we can tell that you were from the Midwest.
Yeah, it was I mean, he was strange. And he also had a radio show. So when I went to that class, I had to deal with him. So actually, that's where I met this guy. And he kept following me around, blah, blah, blah. So I told Lee this, even though at that point I thought Lee's name was Paul and kept calling him Paul. So he knew about Swastika Guy and he knew I had a radio show after that. So Alternative Tuesday ended. I was gonna go back to my apartment to get stuff ready for the radio show. And Swastika Guy kind of comes over to me in the lobby by the bar where this thing is. And he was like, hey, what's up? I'm like, oh, I gotta do my radio show. He's like, oh, okay, you know.
Okay.
He was a real dumbass. But anyways, your dad saw it. And he came over and he was like, hey, Jen. He kind of slipped between me and Swastika Guy. He's like, are you ready for me to walk you home? I'm like,
Mm.
I'm like, yeah, yeah, that'd be great. Okay, see you
That was
later.
totally the plan the whole time.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. So he walked me home, walked me back. I did my show, blah, blah, blah. I kept seeing him around. Like, he kept coming to my radio show and hanging out and, stuff like that. I kept seeing him on campus and stuff. And one show, he's like, oh, I want to play a song for you. It's really pretty. So he pulled out Don't Get Me Wrong by the Pretenders. And I was like, oh, I've never heard this before. I don't know why. And I was like, that's really a nice song. So I like run home after the radio show. And I'm like, yo, Mitch, because Mitch was my roommate, as I said. Do you know the Pretenders? What are the lyrics to this song? And he pulled it out, and it's like, don't get me wrong, if I'm feeling kind of dazzled, I see neon sparks whenever you walk by, or something
Ooh,
like that.
spicy.
Yeah. So I was like, oh my God, oh my God, Mitch, I think he might like me, right?
You think?
You think? So Mitch was like, yeah, probably. So the next day, he calls me to ask me out. I wasn't home. Mitch was home. Mitch answered the phone, and I came home, and there was a note on our fridge that said, "Hey Jen, that boy Lee called, and I told him to keep on walking. Signed, Mitch," and his middle name is Lee, so it was funny. And I'm like, "You did not." So I called him back, called Lee back. He invited me out on our first date. Our first date was at this place called the Warehouse, which is basically this big old messed up abandoned
Are
warehouse.
you talking about the spaghetti warehouse?
No, I'm talking about an actual warehouse.
Oh,
That had,
perfect date spot.
yeah, we saw a comedian after we started dating, and he was like, "Hey, where was your first date at?" And your dad went, "It was at the warehouse." And he goes, "What's that? You buy lampshades or something together?" But it was a big old decrepit rundown like factory looking thing where they had punk rock shows, and there were skate ramps in it, and it was really cool, right? So we get there. I It was his friend Chris and his other friend. Why am I blanking on the name?
Probably because it was like
Rob. Rob.
million years ago.
No, but I should know Rob. I still talk to Rob and Chris. Um, So I met all his friends. We went in his crappy, beat up Timex car. The one he had spray painted and stuff.
Contrary to what you may believe, Mother, I do not remember these stories because I was not there.
I thought I told you this whole story.
I don't think I ever bothered to ask.
Oh, well, you're learning about it now. So I'm in the warehouse, listening to the punk rock show. Lee goes off into the mosh pit. You know what that is, right?
Yes, I do know what that is. He
Where
tried
they
to start one at my wedding.
Oh, right, okay. The machine and the mash, and anyways, he was off in the mosh pit with Rob. I was back with Chris, what I thought was a good distance from said mosh pit. Well, the mosh pit kept growing and growing. More people got thrown in on the edge until there was this one last guy right in front of me. I'll never forget, he had a rip in his pants, and he was wearing like bright leopard skin looking boxer shorts or something. It was just like, I'm like, this guy is the only salvation I have from dying in a mosh pit. But someone grabbed that guy and threw him in the mosh pit. So suddenly I was in the mosh pit, and Chris is like, oh fuck no. So Chris dived on my lap and like was pushing us out of the mosh pit with his foot while like shielding me on my lap. So this was my first date with your dad. I almost got hit in the head with skateboards numerous times because I have a magnet for a head. It was just bad. So, anyways, but that all ends. We get back in the car. You know that kind of thing where you're sitting by someone and you just kind of end up holding hands.
Um, no, but okay.
Well, it's like you just kind of both like move your hand over and closer and closer. Okay, whatever. That happened, and we were holding hands. And then we were sitting there in the car, and he goes, "Is it okay if I kiss you?" I'm like, "Sure." So we had our first kiss. It was very nice. And then after that first date, we like started seeing each other like pretty much every day. he would sleep over. But ironically, he really was just sleeping over. There was nothing happening. A bunch of weird paranormal stuff from before came up involving this demon that was attached to me from playing on a
Again,
Ouija board.
another thing for another
Yeah,
day.
that's like a Halloween episode. So we were dating. Now, I didn't know we were dating because I had kissed many of a boy, but to me, when we kissed, we were dating. I'm like, okay. Because what happened is one night we were laying in bed. He said he was telling me about his work because he worked at a nursing home, and he was like, one of the residents there, I told them that my girlfriend really likes ice cream. And I'm like,
Like every other girlfriend in America.
no, but I was like, wait a minute. What girlfriend?
Subtle.
Well, I mean, I thought it was another girl. I thought he was cheating on somebody with me. So he goes, you dummy. Who did you think I was talking about? I'm like, I don't know. Could have been anybody. And he goes, well, what did you think happened when we were like kissing all over each other all the time? I'm like, I don't know. I thought we were just friends that kissed. And he's like, no, you are my girlfriend. I'm like, oh, okay, good to know. So we were literally going out for like a month before I even knew it.
Probably something you should have known earlier, considering a relationship takes two people.
I didn't know. I was very loose with my lips in many ways. But anyways, so they I'm just gonna glide on through the rest of this. We started dating in October. By December, your dad was talking about getting engaged. I'm like, hell no, we cannot get engaged. Getting married is like putting golden handcuffs on that you can never take off. And he was like, that's messed up. I'm like, I'm sorry, that's what I think. But, you know, I don't know if he wore me down or I got used to the idea or what, but it was Valentine's Day of my junior year, and I knew he was going to propose to me because I went somewhere and picked out rings with him. I mean, we didn't buy them. And then one time I was in his car and I saw the ring box for that jeweler on the floor of his car, so I knew he had bought them. My favorite thing to do in the world was to go to this place called 1470 in Dayton, which was a gay bar, and they played really cool music. So your dad knew that I liked to dance, but I couldn't dance if we went in his car because then I'd have my non-electric wheelchair and wouldn't be able to move. So he rented a U-Haul to take me to this club.
I didn't know about the U-Haul.
You didn't know about the U-Haul?
I didn't know about the U-Haul.
Yeah, he rented a U-Haul so I could take my electric wheelchair to 1470.
Oh
So,
my god.
yeah. And we were young then, so I don't even know. It probably cost hell a lot because he was.
No, U-Hauls don't cost as much as regular cars do to rent.
Oh, okay.
There's
Well,
the age restrictions.
okay. Well,
Yes, for the viewer, I mean listener, please tell us how old you were at this time.
oh my God. Lee was 19. I was 20.
Ugh.
All right. In our defense, which is will come up in marriage later, our youth pastor was always like, it's better to marry than burn with lust. So we were burning with lust. We knew this.
La 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 la
Uh,
la la
uh,
la 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 la
uh,
la 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 la.
uh.
La
All
la la
right.
la.
All right. Going back to the proposal, It was nice. We went to dinner at some Italian restaurant, I think. Then we went to the club, and I'm like shaking because I know what's going to happen. We had always get our hair cut at this one place, and he had gotten it like done up so like his mohawk was sticking up, and he was like all dressed up and I was all dressed up. So at one point he leaves the table. I'm like, oh, I think this might be happening now. And he goes up to the DJ and he tells him that he needs him to play a song by The Cure and that he's going to propose to his girlfriend. So the DJ is like, all right, special announcement, everybody off the floor. He made everybody get off the dance floor except Lee, standing there in his mohawk all forlorn. And the DJ's like, Jenny Mac, come to the dance floor. Jenny Mac. And he's like yelling, and me standing there. And I roll onto the dance floor. But the DJ could not see me because the bar was blocking his view. So he kept calling me even when I was there. And your dad said, she's here already. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he got down on one knee, proposed. They played a song by The Cure. It was great.
And you said,
I said yes, sorry. And we went back to our table, and I swear to God, every gay guy in that bar came up to us and was like, that was the sweetest thing I've ever in my life. I hope someday that happens for me. So that's how we got engaged. All right, take it away, Emily. Sorry, I went on and on and on and on.
literally on and on and on
I
and
know.
on.
I need to shorten that down somehow.
All right, well, let's see. Where do I start? I also met my now husband, Wes, when I was a freshman. We went to the same school and were both in honors program classes together. So we knew of each other, but we didn't really meet until probably December of my freshman year, which would have been 2011. I was in this pretty intense long distance relationship and I was just really pissed off because this guy had said that he was going to come up to DC for Christmas, but clearly had other plans because I talked to him like the week before Christmas and he hadn't asked off of work yet, which is obviously something you would need to do. So I was pissed off, so me and my friend Cameron and Wes, because Cameron invited Wes, went down to the grocery store at the bottom of the hill from
weren't,
our
weren't,
campus.
weren't they roommates or friends or?
I mean, Cameron is and was like my only real friend for the first half of my freshman year because being in this long distance relationship had kind of like secluded me. I wasn't
Well,
really in.
you're also very introverted.
Yes, also that. So I was just focused on not vomiting from anxiety and the stress of being in a new place at a new school. And Cameron was like, all right, I know what's going to calm you down. Let's go get Diet Coke and Mentos from the grocery store and blow it up. And I was like, you know what? That sounds like fun. And Cameron invited Wes to come along. So Cameron and Wes were like dicking around, joking, and Wes was doing parkour, or what he called parkour.
Which
Just like,
is
I don't even understand it really. It's just like jumping off things. Basically, it's like getting from point A to point B in the stupidest way you can think of.
like walking along top of walls and like jumping
Jumping off.
down railings and
Yeah.
yeah.
So he was doing some semblance of parkour, and it definitely wasn't graceful at all. And he like flipped, and when he was coming out, he kicked me in the side of the head. But I was so pissed at my boyfriend at the time that I was just like, whatever, dude, it's fine. And he just kind of looked at me like, Uh, I feel like you should be more mad at me because I just kicked you in the side of the head, but okay. So that was like the
Ah,
first time that we ever interacted was
you
in,
got kicked in the head.
yeah.
Wow, great.
And 2 months later, after this guy had dumped me, well, I dumped myself because I texted him and I was like, I haven't heard from you in 2 weeks. Are we over? And he was like, yeah, I'm sorry. It's not you, it's me.
Oh, that's lovely. So
So,
it was a text breakup.
yeah.
Okay, we're not going to talk about those. Anyway.
And, where was I? Oh, like 2 months after that, my friends were trying to cheer me up, and Cameron again was like, okay, because we were all in the honors program, so we got free tickets to go to things. So there was going to be a production of Romeo and Juliet the ballet on Valentine's Day, and we were all going to go together. But what Cameron didn't tell me is him and the other person who were supposed to go had already used honors program tickets earlier that school year, so they couldn't
Uh,
get it again.
uh,
So
uh,
Wes and I ended up in the third row of Romeo and Juliet the ballet
on
together
Valentine's Day.
on Valentine's Day, and it was the most odd thing. I mean, like, clearly Cameron was trying to push us together, but you have to remember I had been dumped 3 weeks before.
Yeah, so you weren't like in the relationship mood at the moment.
Yeah, and then like 2 weeks after that, Cameron, which I just found out about this like 3 weeks ago, texted Wes and was like, Emily likes you.
Uh,
Literally found out about this three
uh,
weeks ago.
uh,
And I was like, bruh, Cameron, you've betrayed my trust.
he outed you.
Yeah.
But I
Uh,
I thought you didn't know if he really liked him. Cause it wasn't there a whole thing like you were on some stairs and he stopped and you were like, is he gonna kiss me? What's going on here?
well, basically, Wes pursued me, and I kind of, I was kind of into it, but I wasn't ready because this was all in March, and I had just been dumped at the end of January, so it kind of like petered out. I was basically told him, look, I can't do this, and he was frustrated and left school a little bit early. He finished all his exams and then just went home for the summer. So we both separated for the summer, didn't really talk a little bit off and on because we had both been hired to be RAs the next school year.
Which is a residential advisor in a dorm.
Yeah. So we came back after the summer apart, which was good for both of us because I had longer to digest the asshole who had dumped me before him. And Wes clearly felt dumped, so he was just treating me like anyone else instead of like,
I used to date you,
yeah,
or used to almost date you.
he came on very strong and I wasn't having it. And once I broke it off and we both came back as RAs and the relationship had been like taken off the table and we were just both focused on like being coworkers and being friends, it
Hmm.
allowed room for us to kind of grow, I guess.
Closer.
Yeah.
Wait,
So we,
that's a lot better than being kicked in the head. That's,
yeah.
yes.
So we started dating officially in September of 2012, but we had kind of been seeing each other before that. That was just the day we started telling people. Um, we dated all throughout college. We studied abroad together, which, looking back on it, was kind of dumb because what if we had broken up while we were abroad? But clearly it didn't happen that way.
That would be bad. Stuck in another country with your ex. Okay.
Yeah. After, I think 2 years in, during one of the summers, when he had come to visit me in DC, he was like, I want to marry you. And I was like, I'm like 12.
You were
Let's re.
not 12.
Okay, I was like 20.
All
And I
right.
was like,
You
"Th-
were like, my parents got married. when they were young, and I do not want to get married when I am young and be like my parents.
No, that's not what I said. I just said that's good for you. I'm not there yet. And
And
I
I
think
don't
what
want to
he
marry you.
I think what he meant was like, I know that you're the one I want to end up with, but in my head I was like, bruh, slow your roll.
It's like golden handcuffs. No.
Well, I think meeting him so young, I was really worried about being my own person outside of the relationship.
Right.
So I took active measures to like I worked as a summer camp counselor 2 years in a row, which meant that we were apart the whole summer for like 3 months. And I was able to like develop myself and have relationships with other friends outside of him. And I really think that outlook on our relationship is what made us able to be where we are today because I mean, he works crazy hours. We aren't together all the time. He doesn't even have off most weekends, and I have to be okay with having a life outside of him.
Yeah.
So basically, I was in a 5 year program and he was in a 3 year program. So my last year of undergrad, we were also long distance while he was back in Philly and I was up at school in New York. So we did the whole long distance thing and we just continued to like grow separately and then come together when we could. And then for my last year of grad school, the last year of my 5 year program, we moved in together with a roommate, and I just remember being terrified to tell dad.
And he was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? That's it? Because dad had raised us very strict. Like, my 16th birthday party, I wasn't allowed to have guys at because the week before I had had two of my friends who were both gay and dating each other in our room, and he was like, "No boys allowed." So
Yeah, I
basically,
remember.
Dad took like it a lot easier than I thought he was going to.
Mm-hmm. I was
And
actually shocked about that as well. But
and then basically in January of 2016, I think that's right, we started seriously talking about like what our future was going to look like. I mean, obviously we had been together for 4 years by that point. We knew we were where we were headed, but since I had anxiety and hate surprises, I was like, all right,
and
let's
didn't want to be like your parents.
no, that's not you have to look at
Ah,
that.
ah, ah, ah.
I mean, I definitely didn't want to get married at 19 and 21, but um so in January of 2016 we started talking about it and we were like, "All right, let's get engaged on our 4 year anniversary, which was September 4th." And over that year, we started our roommate moved out. We kind of started like building a life together. I mean, more than we already had. We got a joint bank account, started,
Oh.
I know. I know married couples who still don't have a joint bank account.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't.
I don't
I
get
mean,
it.
each their own. Uh, but Les works in a higher paying field than I do, so I appreciate the joint bank.
Yeah, same, same.
Um, there was no clear proposal because I've talked to Wes about this and he doesn't feel like I've stolen anything from him, but I always saw the choice to get married as the just that, a choice that came
Mhm,
from both sides.
mhm.
I don't fault people who do have the grand proposal, but I do think if the person you're proposing to doesn't like at least see it coming a little bit, maybe they're shocked by when it happens exactly or the time and place. But like if you have not had a conversation about marriage or talk seriously about your future together, you have no business proposing.
Right. Just springing it on someone.
And also, I didn't feel the need to do all this. I paid for half of my engagement ring. I actually bought it on my credit card, and then Wes paid me back.
Eh, I don't know if that counts, but okay, go ahead.
No, he paid for half of it and paid.
Oh, I thought you meant okay.
Yeah. And that's how we started our very long engagement of 2.5 years.
which ended this past January, which we will talk about in another episode. Anyways, this has gone on super long. I might need to shave mine down a bit. What do you have a thorn and a rose for the week?
Yeah. My thorn is that I haven't been to the gym in months and I'm having trouble getting back into a regular workout routine.
Do you do your yoga still?
I tried to do a 30-day yoga challenge in February and got to like day 9, but then I got the flu.
Oh, yeah, that would be hard.
And then I started it in March and things have just been, my routine is all off.
Yeah,
I'm hoping this week I'll be able to get back into it.
cool. And your rose?
My rose is that I'm going to Vienna, Austria, not Virginia, um, in less than 3 weeks for work, and I'm really excited.
I'm really jealous.
It's gonna
And
be a good time. What about
and
you,
are
mother?
okay, my thorn has to be that my favoriteest TV show in the world just announced that they are ending after season 15. The show would be Supernatural, which I'm obsessed with. I've met most of the people on the show at conventions, and I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do with myself when I don't have this thing to obsess over.
I mean,
But
you can still obsess over it. There just won't be new content.
yeah, and I don't know. I'm assuming the conventions will start to wind down, which happened after another show I liked ended. But the rose in is related to this. I met a lot of friends working at these conventions, and especially this past last year, I made a really good group of friends that we were working the theater together, and we have a Facebook group chat, and we're all very supportive of each other, and we're getting one another through this hard time in our lives. Thank you.
You're
I love my team spirit, folks. Okay, go ahead.
that was
So,
it.
yeah, that was it. All right. Well, we're wrapping it up. Back, we're on iTunes now. Subscribe to us.
You won't regret it. Well, you probably will, but
Emily and I will not regret it. Just put it that way. All right. Well, next time we're going to talk about wedding.
Bye.
Bye.
Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at Slightly Off Center Podcast. You can also find us on Patreon and give us shit tons of money.
So we don't have to cam or sell an organ.
Also under Slightly Off Center Podcast. And if you need any advice, beauty, life tips,
We're probably not the people's ass.
but you can still send us an email at slightlyoffcenterpodcast